Today we're going to continue our discussion about building construction and the basics. However, we're going to veer a little bit over to the safety side of things since it's Firefighter Safety Stand-Down Week. As a former fire chief, whenever I think about safety, this quote comes to mind from Alan Bernasini. Safety prevents meetings. If we're safe, I have a lot less meetings as a fire chief to deal with. So a few things that I'm going to talk about today related to safety, related to building construction, are incident command, accountability, communication, and pre-plan. We all know that if we initiate the incident command system on just about any incident, it's going to get better. The incident command system needs to be part of your SOPs. You need to train on it. I don't know how you can get good at it if you don't use it in training. I don't know how people are going to know what to expect if you don't use it in training. Your structure of the incident command system is going to vary based on the building. You may have to have multiple operation sectors or multiple operation divisions. You may have to have multiple safety officers, those type of things, based on the size of the building, the number of stories, the geographic area that it takes up, how big is the building as far as square footage, that type of thing. And when we talk about an incident command post, the one thing I don't budge on is it needs to be stationary. People need to know where to find you. We can argue all day about front seat or front yard. I have my preferences, but your incident command post, no matter how you do it, it needs to be stationary so people know where to find you. Accountability system, it's very simple to me. I don't care what kind of system you have, but you need to have one. Have a system. Then you need to train with it, and then you need to use it. Over the years, we haven't done that good of a job with this. We're doing a much better job now than we ever have. So that's the good news. But over the years, I've lived through a lot of different systems. And in almost every case, the system wasn't the problem. The problem was we didn't train with it and we didn't use it. Communication. Just because you're talking doesn't mean you're communicating. The language is very important. Use the proper terminology, especially the proper terminology in your area. That's the only way we're going to communicate, truly communicate. Needs to be face-to-face whenever possible. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a fire scene or any type of scene, and you have two individuals who could clearly go walk and stand in front of each other and talk, but they're, say, 50 feet away or maybe 30 yards away or 40 yards away from each other. They're looking at each other, they can see each other, and they're talking to each other on the radio. We need to be face-to-face whenever we can. Size of the complex is going to matter. If you're using an 800 trunking type system, your signal, your repeaters may not be able to penetrate the building, so you may not be able to, if you're in the building on a handheld radio, you may not be able to get out to the repeater to get your message out. So then you need to go to talk around. Well, then there's a whole host of problems there, because now now you can hear each other on the scene, but nobody off the scene can hear you. So in other words, your operator or your dispatcher cannot hear your radio traffic if you're on talk around. Understand how to use your radio system. It's imperative to your safety. Also be aware of any radio interference you may have at certain locations. Be aware of the on-site PA if they have one. So if you're at a place of assembly, a large complex, the way to communicate to the individuals inside may be to have access to that PA system if it's up and working. And the communication, there needs to be in your SOPs some very specific guidance on how you communicate, the language, again, the language you use when you go to talk around, all those type of things. Often overlooked or forgotten when it comes to safety is the pre-plan. If we know what we're getting into, we can be a lot more effective and a lot safer. So I like to say everyone can, and every building requires it. The pre-plan can save lives. I know we all have time challenges and we have manpower challenges, but there is no reason why you can't do some type of pre-plan on every building in your general area. You may have to prioritize them at first and pick out the things that are most common or most dangerous or present the most life hazard in your area. but you need to pre-plan as much as you can. Some things that I like to key in on are neighborhoods. You know, the residence fire is the most common structure fire you're going to go on in your career. So we need to pre-plan those buildings. Now we can't pre-plan, that's one thing we can't do, is pre-plan every single residence in an area. Generally we can't. But we can pre-plan neighborhoods. And especially in the suburban areas where you have a lot of homes that are built by the same builder, they're going to be very similar to each other. So you can pre-plan those to an extent. And even simple things like the water source, how good's the water supply in that area, where are the hydrants, those type of things. Schools, we almost all have schools in our area. Those are obvious life hazards. In those, they present all kinds of problems. Like when we were talking about with communication, you get these sprawling complexes. Those can create issues. So we need to pre-plan those buildings. Anytime there's hazmat involved, that's a big deal. I know, when I was reading the NIOSH report in West Texas and that fertilizer plant, the big explosion, they had no real pre-plan for if they had a fire at that complex. Now, I realize they were a volunteer fire department, but that's the most dangerous thing in their area. If you're not doing anything else, you pre-plan at least that. So, and I'm not here to criticize them. I'm just pointing out how important a pre-plan is. Places of assembly, I've talked about that a little bit, but that's high on the priority list when we're talking about pre-plans. And then again, if you're going to pre-plan, it's not a one-time thing. It needs to be updated. One of my other favorite quotes from Alan Bernasini about safety is, "Safe firefighters are smart firefighters." I hope that you took advantage of Firefighter Safety Stand-Down Week and that you talked a little bit about safety. I realize that this year's theme was highway safety and what we do out on the highways as public safety officials. I hope you got something out of our brief discussion about safety today. If you want to know more about any firefighter-related subject, you can give me a call or text me. You can email me. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. I represent RT Emergency Services. We specialize in insurance products for the fire service and all of public safety. At our agency at RT Insurance, we have a whole host of companies that we represent for nearly any type of insurance you might need. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to contact me as well. Thanks again for watching.